Good evening. It's Cindy Morris with the Peoria Public Schools Foundation. Welcome to Buzz Chats tonight. We are very lucky to have Dr. Wilson from Peoria Public Schools. Do you want to say hi, Dr. Wilson?
Good evening, everyone.
Just as a reminder, Buzz Chats was started as a way for us to communicate, especially during the pandemic when things were shut down. We lost communication with people or, in person. So it was a way to connect people in positive conversations with those connected to the school district. So we're into the second year, and we try to bring interesting guests that are somehow connected to the school district. And a little background on the foundation. We've been around since 1998, and we are a nonprofit that exclusively exists to support Peoria Public Schools. And we do that in traditional ways, classroom grants for teachers, scholarships for students mostly going on to college. We do we oversee the Adopt a School program, and we created our own career and college readiness program, our Horizons and See It Be It. We support a lot of basic need for the district, like uniforms and clothes. We have little free pantries at almost all of our schools for supplemental food. We have the little free libraries and emergency funds. So those are just the nutshell and some of the things we do. But I did want to point out that we are self-sustained. So everything we do is based on our fundraising. And we're very lucky to be a charity partner for the 9th Wine and Whiskey Walk held at Junction this Saturday. There are tickets still available. So if you're interested in a fun outside afternoon event, it's this Saturday from 1 to 6. You can get tickets on our website at www.ppsfoundation.org. You can get them in person, but we do think we will sell out. So if you'd like to get them in person, just make sure to get there early. We're going to go ahead and jump right into, I'd like Dr. Wilson to give the nutshell of introducing herself. So again, welcome. Thank you for being here tonight.
Great. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. As Cindy said, I'm Sandra Wilson, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction for Peoria Public Schools. I also serve in the role of Executive Director over the 3 high schools, so I oversee those as well. A little bit about me in a nutshell is I was born and raised in Central Illinois on a farm, and so I've lived in this area my whole life. I did start my very first year in a rural school as a teacher, but was riffed my first year. And also my first year, I was involved in a strike. So I've had all kinds of experiences my first year, but I've always worked beyond that in large unit districts. I worked in Charleston School District, probably people know that from Eastern Illinois University. And then I also worked in the Unit 5 School District in the Bloomington-Normal area. Also worked for the Illinois State Board of Ed. And I had 2 years where I was working with schools that were low performing, but yet had a lot of potential. And that's where I met Dr. Crott and the wonderful folks at Peoria Public Schools. So I moved from there into this role now. So I've been assistant superintendent in another district, a principal, assistant principal, teacher. So I've done a lot of things. And I was sitting here thinking as I was listening to Cindy, like this is my 38th year. So I'm old and I have seen a lot of things. And so I love to bring those experiences and see how it can intertwine with the vision that Dr. Crott has for Peoria Public Schools. So thank you for including me. The foundation is a wonderful support. We lean on them a lot and they're always there for us. I've never heard them say no yet. So they're always supportive of whatever we need. And we have lots of needs. So thank you, Cindy.
We do have a kind of a format, but I'm going to go jump right in here. If you could kind of give an update on the year so far, and now that we're approaching teacher conferences,
Mhm.
any new plans from the town hall that are being considered for implementation? So there's a couple things to dive in there.
Sure, sure. You know, as everyone knows, we're doing things differently. And the pandemic, I think Dr. Krotz said this a couple weeks ago, and I believe it, is we're never going back to the way things were.
Mhm.
So the new normal is what we're doing now. And so thinking about that, it's really taught us to diversify what we offer, and we can do things that we didn't even think we could do, such as having meetings like this. So really what we chose to do is embrace those opportunities. And we really provided a lot more opportunities for our students through the virtual lens.
Mhm.
We were forced into it, but yet some of our families were very clear that they liked that worked for them. Some of our students excelled in that cyberspace. And so we wanted to continue to provide that. So we've really grown. We have several options for our families. We have one that we call VTL, that is grades 2 through 8. And we have over 200 students that are learning through Acellus platform. They have a Peoria Public School teacher that meets with them every day. They're doing art lessons, they're doing writing, but those students are working from home, but they are connected to a Peoria Public School teacher, and they have more of a structure and a schedule. So we have over 200 students that are doing that. Then we have families that are like, I don't really want that schedule. I really want something that's more flexible. So we now have cyber school, where that's also on the Acellus platform, but students can learn any time of day or night or weekend. And so we just keep track of their progress, and they're available to check in with us, but we don't bother them. And we have over 50 students that are doing that.
Wow.
So we also have high school students that because of the flexibility that they want with work, or some kind of the family demands that they might have. And some of them just wanted some freedom, and maybe the high school setting isn't, their cup of tea. And they really liked the options for virtual. So we have all three high schools that are also have offered to learn online through the platform called Edgenuity. And we have I want to say around 225-ish students out of our three high schools that are doing that by their choice. That's something that they want to do. We allow them to reevaluate at the semester, and if they want to come back, great. But if they want to stay there, they work through their course schedule with the counselors, and then they work online. We do have teachers that check in with them and are available to provide support. So that's probably the biggest change that we've moved into this year. It was always a dream of Dr. Krot to offer all those different learning options. And the pandemic forced us to try it out. And we have families that found out that it really works well for them.
Mhm.
Um, the virtual environment also allowed us to try something else a little bit different.
Mhm.
We have students in all of our schools that are eighth graders that are Algebra 1 ready, but we don't have enough students in all of our schools for a specific class. And so that really created an inequitable situation. And so this year we have a Algebra 1 teacher that is housed at one of our high schools, and she teaches virtual Algebra 1 during third period to students that are in many of our schools. And so the nice thing is we don't need to bus them anywhere, and it fits in their schedule. And so we want to expand that. We do have two schools that do have enough students to have an Algebra 1 class. But like I said, we want to make that option available. So we have one section of 24 students, and we want to expand that to 2 or 3 sections next year, so we can have more eighth graders be able to take Algebra 1 their eighth grade year, even if there's not enough in their school to have a full-time class. So we're pretty excited about that, and we want to continue to explore those kinds of options. Um, we're looking at registering our high school students. We'll start looking at next year already for courses. We'll start registration in November for rising freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. And so we might have students that, want to take Spanish 4, but perhaps there's only 5 students in their school that want to take Spanish 4. And so how can we still provide that opportunity for those students? So we're looking at dipping more into the virtual opportunities that connect our students, that are supported by our Peoria Public School teachers and fit with the needs of the families. So it's been a really eye-opening experience, and we've just figured out we can do this way. We can meet this way, and we can learn this way, and we can communicate this way. So it's worked well for us.
Well, that's great. Looking to the future, what are some innovations being considered in the classrooms and exciting ideas being researched now?
So we want to do things differently. And really, what our hope is to really, instead of the students fitting into the school box, we want to work around what they need. And so we are, especially at the high school, trying to explore ways for students to determine what it is they need and what they want to do, and then we'll build it around them. Easier said than done when we're required to have credits.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that Peoria High School is exploring is we received a TAEOP grant, and it's really a truancy prevention grant, but the school really wanted to try something different along those lines. So we have students that maybe work during the day, or they have trouble getting to school on time. And so really an afternoon evening option is better for them. So we are implementing in November a kind of afternoon evening school option for students. We have some of that now for our students that need credit recovery, but this is really an opportunity for initial credit. So, maybe the 7:30 to 2 o'clock time frame doesn't work for them. So we have teachers and counselors and support staff that are ready to serve our students. And it might be virtual, it might be with a live teacher, or it might be a combination. So we want to grow that, and that provides our students to have internships or, like I said, jobs during the day, but then they might be able to come to school in the afternoon or evening and still get their credits. Another thing that we are exploring and hope to expand is we have lots of students, and my 2 children would have been part of this, where at the high school level, many of our parents aren't comfortable helping their children with, especially with math or science, chemistry, physics. It's been a while since we've had it. And so how do we help our students that might be struggling at night when they go to do their homework? Many of our teachers are very responsive, but they're not always accessible at 10 o'clock or midnight when a student might be working through their homework. So we piloted something called Varsity Tutoring, where that's an online tutoring system. And that worked well for some of our students, but really it was a live tutor situation, and we needed to have appointments. And many of our families, their schedules were flexible, and many of our families, they weren't. So we are exploring another tutoring option, which is called Paper. And we'll have that starting now, actually, and some of our families will hear about that at Parent-Teacher Conference. We're at the high school level, and we have some middle schools that are also piloting. And this is more of a chat feature. So it's an online, a student would log on and say, I need help in chemistry. And so a chemistry teacher would be listening. It's not virtual, it's through chat. And so they're able to upload their essays, and they'll get editing help with that. So that's another way that we're supporting. So we're trying to restructure when our students take classes, and we're trying to provide a variety of options for students that are doing their homework at midnight, and that for them to also get support. So online is a vehicle, but we always want to incorporate our Peoria Public School teachers into that as well. I will tell you a couple things that I'm kind of excited about. We have a couple new courses at the high school level. I don't know if this is a good time to mention it, but we have a course that's really it's an entrepreneurial ship course, and it's been developed, and we piloted it this year, and it's gone very well. And so it's all about students learning how to be an entrepreneurial, and it will connect with the I believe it's called the distillery in the city. And so we're hoping that they can have their capstone project where they actually develop something kind of like a Shark Tank idea.
Mhm.
So we're working on that capstone project and really coming up with some ideas for that at the end of the year. We also have some teachers that are very interested in, as our deaf and hard of hearing teachers, interested in teaching sign language. And so the Illinois State Board of Ed had, I think in the year 2023, all students need to be exposed to and take a year of foreign language or sign language.
Mhm.
So we're going to offer sign language courses in the foreign language department at for sure one of our high schools, hopefully for two of our high schools. So that's really something cool.
That is.
The other piece is there's students that just sometimes struggle finding an elective. They know they have to take the core classes, but if they're not a musician or they're really not an artist and they don't want to take foreign language, what do you take? And so we've really tried to look at providing additional opportunities. And so we have a teacher that really started thinking about kids are so into social media. So how can we connect the concept of sociology and social media? And so he is developing a course where the history of social media and the internet, and they're really going to get into this whole concept of social media and how it's changed, you know, um, how we interact with each other and how we communicate. And so I think that that's going to be a really top seller because I think kids are very interested in that. So looking forward to that as well. So we're trying to think of things that would interest our students and provide them opportunities that they don't get somewhere else.
Yeah, that sign language.
Isn't that cool?
That's really cool. I love that option. That's
Yeah.
a great idea. So, you mentioned two children. Do you have? And are they adult children or
They are, they
okay?
are, they are.
Are
One's
they
31 and one's 27. I always get her age wrong, but yeah,
okay?
they both live in the Chicago area, so that provides me an opportunity to get up there and see them.
Yeah,
Tons to do up there as well.
yeah. Our kids are 23 and 25, so it's fun to see them, growing into or adult. They are adults, but it's so fun. And yeah, Chicago is a great place to visit.
They've provided me some opportunities to just on the different, they're two very different paths. But it's really helped me think about as I help support what we're offering for our students K-8, but also even probably more importantly at the high school level, thinking about how to provide opportunities for students that are on so many different paths because my
Mhm.
own two children are on very different paths. And sometimes I think, if we would have had this for when my son was there, it would have been something that really would have excited him. And so I always think about, the end game, which is them
Mhm.
being productive citizens, having a job that they can certainly support a family or do the things that they want to do if traveling is what they want to do. And I think sometimes having kids give you that perspective because you look through the lens of what my kids would have liked, and there might be other kids out there. What opportunities can I provide? So it does give you a different lens, doesn't it?
Well, and I just think having children, I mean, it does, um, for me, it definitely has guided my career choices. And, I'm constantly telling, Jordan and Taylor, even when I started 11 years ago, I would purposefully tell them stories I would hear of, you think about your kids like, oh, what do they want for Christmas? Oh, they want this electronic thing or this or that, and they already have,
Mhm.
this and that. And I always made sure to come home and tell them stories, that there's a lot of kids that don't have, anything. And I think that's important. The other thing is we do a lot of basic needs support at our foundation, and I hear a lot of stories, as I'm sure you do.
Mhm.
Um, some break my heart and break your heart too, and it's, kind of a shock to the system. But um, I always think about when we get asked, like if that was my child, or oftentimes we'll get contacted about, oh, we have used clothes. Can we give those to you? And can you get those to kids? And I always say yes. But
Mhm.
the deal is with that, I always look everything over. And if it's not
Mhm.
something I put my own child in, I wouldn't put it out there for our students, because um, we can I can that's what I strive to get new, like new clothes and new
Mhm.
coats and things like that, because for our children, that's what I would do. So um,
Mhm.
there is that perspective part, which I think is important.
I
So,
think so. And I think, Cindy, you bring up a really important part of the other half of the work that I do and we all do in Peoria Public Schools is, and especially I think it's been amplified with the pandemic,
mhm,
is um, the emotional needs of our
mhm,
children. And, SEL, we call it social emotional learning, but
mhm,
it's those emotional needs and how can we harness um, ways to support students. I use the word amplify because I don't know a better way to say it, but
mhm,
some of the behaviors, some of the feelings, some of the struggles
mhm,
has just been magnified um, after the pandemic. And I was talking to actually a teacher today in one of the schools, and we thought, okay, yay, we're all back. We're all back in school. It's all ready to go. And I don't know what we were thinking that, like, oh, we're just gonna, flip back to the way it was before the pandemic. And it's never going to be that way again. We've
mhm,
been forever changed. And so I think we have to navigate what we do
mhm,
based on what the students are showing and sharing. And
mhm,
so we've tried to ramp up, like I said, what I talked about earlier, the online
mhm,
experiences, meeting their needs. But it's that other part that we have to pay attention to, because if a
mhm,
student is not in a good space, it's going to be a real struggle for them to learn. And I
mhm,
the foundation has really listened to what do you need?
mhm,
How can we help? And you've provided a lot of those basic necessities,
mhm,
but you've given grants to teachers who can do really cool and amazing
mhm,
things in there to make life or to make learning fun for the kids. So
mhm,
those pieces, but the whole emotional component of what the students are bringing to school is something that many of us have never experienced in our life. So, how can we provide additional support? So, that's a big piece of our work right now, because if that's not in a good place, then not much else is going to happen. So, we've had to spend a lot of time rethinking how we do things and tweaking what we do to meet those
right,
needs. So, because it's
mhm.
real, the
It
struggle's real for
it
sure.
is it is real. This is more on a personal note. What hobbies do you have? What do you like to do? And I know you don't have a lot of free time, but what are
I
your
know it's kind of depressing. I wish I had like a really awesome list to share, but I'll tell you one thing I do love to do, and it's getting darker, so it's harder to do. But I love walking. We have great trails where I live, so we can walk on. It's called the Constitution Trail, or just even our neighborhood in that. But this summer, my husband and I spent a lot of time boating on Lake Michigan. We kept our boat up in a marina close to the Wisconsin border, but we were able to take it down to Chicago. And it's something you probably know this, Cindy, but as you get older and your kids get older, you need to find hobbies and things that you can do as a family. And it was so much easier when they were younger, right? But so this is something that we can do with our kids, and they enjoy being on the boat with us too. So I love that. But in the winter, I'm a reader, and I probably the thing that I like doing, I guess, the best of nights and weekends, maybe not at nights, but definitely the weekends, is cooking. I love to cook. My mom was a fabulous cook, growing up on the farm. Everything, we never bought a thing. When we had field trips, I was so excited because we got to go to the store and we got to pick out either ho-hos or ding dongs. That was a treat because mom always made homemade things,
Yeah.
and that was such a drag. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So I like to cook and do all those kinds of things and entertain. So home type things that, you're with people. So that's what I enjoy the most.
So you grew up on a farm. Were you a 4-H girl?
I was 10 years. I sure was.
My mother was too. Yeah, my mother, and we had a Centennial farm down in south of Springfield in Auburn, Illinois, and
Oh my gosh,
yeah, I
that's
have
awesome.
pictures of her with her sheep, and um, yeah, I loved the farm life. So getting to go there, but it's a different life. Yeah.
It is, it
Yeah.
is, and we are still embedded a little bit. My mom still lives on the farm. My father passed away unexpectedly about 14 years ago, and my mom at the visitation asked my husband, "Do you want to farm the land?"
Wow.
And he's in insurance, so it's like, what? And he told me later, he's like, sure. He also grew up on a farm, so
Okay.
the cool thing about that is he's able to be out there with my mom, and she gets to, have still family members farm her property. And so it's really special. So it's always a part of you, and because you were raised
Mhm.
in that area. So it's still near and dear to my heart. But yes, 10 years sewing, cooking, showing cattle, did all those things growing up. Yep, that was our entertainment in the summer. There was no TV. We had TV, but we never turned it on. So
You
that's
were
what we
outside a
did.
lot, and
We
that's
were
like
outside a lot.
I feel like when growing up, I mean, for me, and we didn't live on the farm, but I just remember as a young girl, we were outside all the time in the
Mhm.
summer, and late, and we were outside just playing jacks or riding our bikes or just doing stuff outside. It's so different today.
Yes, yes. And I mean, Gilligan's Island is a TV show I can think of, and the Munsters, but we just didn't watch TV. Even when we were inside, my sisters and I played Barbies or house or school, or
Yeah.
I don't know. We were just always doing things, and maybe that's why I'm in the job I am now. There's always something to do, but we were just
Yeah.
doers. We just didn't have a lot of idle time. And maybe it's because, Cindy, if we were idle, then mom would find jobs for us to do. So
Yeah,
we just kept
exactly.
busy. We just kept busy the whole time. So I
Do
don't know.
you have a book that you're reading now?
I am not reading a book for pleasure now. What I try to do is I take those beach novels, like my family makes fun of me. So anything Nicholas Sparks like, that's what I love to do when I'm on vacation or at night. Because I read a lot of professional books, and
Yeah.
so I don't have one that I've started, but I've got a list that I need to get one started for sure. Because it's a good, it's starting to get winter, so it's time to get inside, and I'll be doing that for sure.
I'm a movieaholic, but I love
I
the
am as well.
Nicholas Sparks movies a lot.
I know,
They're so good.
I know. Chick flicks, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we take turns picking. I haven't been to a movie theater for a while, but if it looks like a chick flick, I for sure will be signing up for it.
Yeah.
But
Aw. Well, back to let's see. Did you always want to work in education?
I played school growing up, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna, um, want to maybe be a teacher. But then I decided I went to Illinois State University, and I thought I'm gonna do fashion merchandising. And I'm telling you, Cindy, I got into some of those, like as a freshman, you take a lot of just basic classes, but I got into a couple like fashion, clothing and textile, warp and weave. And I'm like, what am I doing? I hate this. I hate this. I don't know why I picked fashion merchandising, but then I quickly switched to education, and so I've loved it ever since. I've always loved wherever I've been. I've taught in several districts and buildings, and I've always loved wherever I've been. So it's been a good path for me, and I've enjoyed it. So there was a little bit there where I was veering off, but I got back on track, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some recommended strategies that would be helpful for parents trying to support their children's educational growth?
I I think providing, well, a couple things. Number one, I would say stay connected to the school. Definitely connect with the teacher, even, the principal, the staff, but um, the teachers really love knowing, they love building the relationships with their students, but also connecting with parents. They are the key. And so we like that. So definitely stay connected with your teacher. It never hurts to say, how's it going? Haven't heard, because sometimes no news is good news. But, as a teacher, I loved sharing good news. So I think that's important. I think also asking questions about, not just the homework, but what's going on at school. Who are your friends? What are you talking about? The older they get, you and I both know, Cindy, they get more closed mouth. But
Mm-hmm.
also making sure that you provide a space for your child to do work at home, and then make sure that for sure that they are reading,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the K-8 level, providing those opportunities for them to read. If they don't like books, find something online, graphic novels, those kinds of things. So spending time doing that, and also them watching you read. If you're a reader,
Mm-hmm.
chances are your kids are going to pick up a book too. And there's lots of organizations that provide books, free books. So if families ever need books to put in the home, we have plenty of options to give them. So I would say space and time to do their work, reading, stay connected. And of course, we love those basic needs too, making sure that they get the sleep and get to school on time. As
Mm-hmm.
students feel really confident when they're there on time.
Mm-hmm.
When they walk in late, it's just like I think even when we're all late to something, you feel like, yeah, I should have been here on time and I've missed some things. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's also really important. So those basic needs, but also providing that support and connection would be, I guess, my top ones.
How long did you say you've been working in the district in Peoria Public Schools?
So this is my fifth year working there, but I had 2 years where I worked with Susan Kleesath, and I worked together to support Peoria Public Schools. And I was
You
in
were
the
consulting, right?
Yep,
Yep.
yep. I was in the district or buildings
Yeah.
almost every day. So I felt like I was an employee, and I really got the feel there. But yeah, this is my fifth year there. So working at the district office.
I know it's going to be hard because you have such a long career in education, but what would you say is one? First, I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite thing about Peoria? What do you love most about Peoria?
The community or the school, or either or?
Well, one, the community, and then I'm
Mhm,
going to ask you about the school district too. But
mhm.
what do you love most about the Peoria community?
I think Peoria community is so diverse. There's so many different types of people and businesses. I just feel like you can find almost anything in Peoria.
Mhm.
Um, I think that the community is so, and I've said this many times, is I have never seen a community so intertwined and supportive of a school district. And I'm talking time, money, agencies.
Mhm.
There are so many agencies, and Dr. Crott and I actually were talking about this today, and I think she came up with around 100 agencies that are in the Peoria area that are somehow connected to either supporting our students
Mhm.
or our teachers. And Cindy, that is rare. I mean,
Mhm.
many communities say we support our schools and they'll maybe give to fundraisers, but I mean, people give their time and
Mhm.
talent,
Yeah.
and it's unique. It's
Yeah.
it's very unique, and I just don't know if people that have been in other that have not been outside of Peoria Public Schools or this district, if they realize how intertwined the community is and what a gift it is, because you just don't hear that very often. We go to conferences and things, and we start talking about the different agencies and the support that we provide our students, and they're just like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're intertwined. We're connected." So
Yeah, and we do. I think our community, well, we have, thousands of nonprofits, but just a very giving philanthropic community too.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Like I said, there's if there's a need,
Hmm.
I have yet to experience whenever there has been a need, and there's just been a lot of even weird needs that we've
Hmm.
asked, that people have risen up and contributed
Right.
or found somebody that knows somebody that can do that.
Yeah.
So it's really it's pretty special. It really is. And it's the strong arm behind the scenes that maybe doesn't get in the front enough, but those of us that work in Peoria Public Schools, we
Mhm.
know it. From the school level all the way up to the district level. We know it's our community that's also partnering with us and keeps us strong, without a doubt. And there's so many examples. I'd hate to start because then I'd leave
Yeah.
somebody out, but you know for sure.
And what about, you've worked at other school districts. Um, what is unique, or what's one of the favorite things about Peoria Public Schools? Whether it's something at, we have 27 schools. How many? It's is it 2,500 or 3,000 employees? Um,
Yes, that would be about right when you consider, all people, because it's close to 1,000 certified. So then when you start adding
right.
everyone else that supports our
Yeah.
students, yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
But what would you say is one of your favorite things about Peoria Public Schools?
I think I think it's a favorite, it's a surprise, and it's also unique all in one, that we find a way to do about anything.
Hmm.
Um, where I have been before, and I think this is probably not rare in other districts, that, well, this is how we do it. This is kind of our structure.
Hmm.
And it just takes, if you're going to change it, it's going to take, uh, it's going to take a long time. And so I am not used to being so nimble and flexible. And if
Hmm.
this isn't working, let's switch it. Let's change it up. Or we have a student need, let's create it. Just like this virtual school, many of the districts are like, okay, we're back to in-person learning and that's all we're doing. We're like, you know what? We have families that want this. Let's keep it going. And so we just find a way to do so many different things. And it's pretty exciting because it's almost like if you can dream it and it's something you think a student would be interested in or has a
Hmm.
passion about, and you can figure out how to do it.
Hmm.
Dr. Crott is like, let's try it. Let's do it.
Hmm.
Because she just says, we have yet to finalize what's the best way for all of our students to learn. We learn all the time what they need. And it's sometimes it can be exhausting because we have a lot of things going, but yet at the same time, somebody's getting their need met. So it makes
Hmm.
it worth it.
Yeah.
So that's what's awesome about it, for sure.
I have a comment here, and I want to do a shout out to a classmate of mine from Woodruff High School, 1985.
Ah,
John Reddick says, I love this conversation. Peoria and its programs made me feel like I could pursue my dreams. And he's out in California now, but I had the pleasure of meeting his mother this week, who's still
ah.
in town. But anyway, wanted to say hi to him. It's neat whenever you get your he's liking it, I think. Um, anyway, so let's see. Um, I know you said you're a book person, but do you have a favorite all time movie?
Oh my gosh. I will, my family's like, oh my gosh, mom, do not. But because I love chick flicks, right? So you got to think about chick flicks. But I honestly, I love Sweet Home Alabama.
That's such a
I,
good one. I love that
it's,
one
oh,
too.
thank you, Cindy.
I
I
love it.
know.
It's so sweet.
I could, and my husband like, okay, let me guess. Like boy meets girl, they fall in love, and
Yeah.
then something happens, they break
Yeah.
up, but then they always get back together. And I'm like, yeah, and what's wrong with that? Like, so, I like that. But so I gravitate to those kinds of movies. And yeah, but like movies like The Blind Side, I love those too. But yeah, so I
You probably like You've Got Mail. Remember that one?
yes, yes,
That
yes,
was a good one. When Harry Met
yes.
Sally. There's so many good ones out there. But
Oh, I know you could go. You could go on forever when you talk about like what's the bridesmaid one where she's always a bridesmaid and never a bride, and
The
um,
Runaway Bride?
yes, the
Julia
runaway
Roberts.
bride
Yeah.
is one.
Yeah.
Just all kinds of, yeah, you name it. So when
So
you think about my favorite actress, of course, Julia Roberts, and all those that are attached to a chick flick. Why not? Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Um, we've had lots of guests and lots of district administrators and things like that. Um, so just to like the regular parent or someone maybe that doesn't even have a child in the school district, what I know you said you're over the high schools, but tell
Mhm.
tell tell the listeners what your actual day to day looks like. I know you've got kind of two because you're the assistant over curriculum, but break that down just a little bit more to.
So we spent a lot of time. I did. I do this as an assistant superintendent too, but in particular, as the executive director of the high schools, we spend a lot of time in the buildings.
Mhm.
um, because really, I always say that's where the magic happens. Um, but the more removed you are from the schools on a regular basis, the more disconnected I think that I feel like I lose my edge on getting the pulse of the district and what the teachers need, what the principals need. Watching students is just like a happy day. If you ever want a great day, go to
Mhm.
Valeska and just watch the magic there. It's so
Yeah.
cool. But so I will always spend part of my day in a building,
Mhm.
and I have of course been in the high schools a lot lately. But we try to rotate, and I try to get to all of the buildings if possible. And what I do is a lot of times we have a tool that's called it's online, and it's a app actually, and it's called Learning Walks. And so we will go and we will just go visit classrooms. I'll just go walk in a classroom and just stay for like 3 to 4 minutes and just watch what's happening. And a lot of times I'll take the principal with me and we'll go because I want to hear and see from their perspective. Or I'll say, where do you want to go? Let's just go walking in your building. So I'll do a lot of going into the classrooms. I do have some meetings, but a lot of times it's mainly just me observing and just hanging out and being there. So I do have. I'm also responsible for a lot of the grants. Dr. Gersnich does a lot of the she does grant work as well, but mine are more aligned to the State Board of Ed, where like Title I and Title II and things like that. So I will meet with principals on budgets.
Mhm.
I'll meet with the curriculum team, and they're in buildings all the time too, so we connect. We look at the curriculum. I have data meetings
Mhm.
where so like I guess like I'm saying probably a lot of things that I do, but like a typical day is I'll spend part of it looking at whether it's attendance data or discipline or online learning data.
Mhm.
We did that today. I will have some meetings with some groups. Like today I had the counselor meetings, so different groups all have meetings, and then I'm in buildings.
Mhm.
um, After hours, then I have a bad habit, but it is the way it works. A lot of times I answer my email after hours
Mhm.
because I'm out and about. And if I'm in the district office, I'm in meetings or I'm meeting with people. And so I typically, when I'm in meetings, I don't check emails. So many times I'm doing that work at night, trying to get back to people and do those kinds of things. So, um, I do some community groups and things like that. I'll attend things as asked, such as this tonight.
Hmm.
By and large, it is working with the principals,
Hmm.
working with the district office staff in one way or another. So, and I try to also, Cindy, honestly, quite a bit of my time is asking questions because I have access to a lot of people.
Hmm.
So it might be a building and grounds. So I will call them up, and then that involves a budget. So then I'll go up and talk to finance. So I try
Hmm.
to connect dots for principals and people because I have access to a lot of that.
Hmm.
And that way they don't need to worry about doing it, so they can pay attention to the students and
Yeah.
the teachers. So,
Well, you have a very big job. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Do you have any parting words?
oh my gosh, I appreciate this opportunity just to share. Um, I have a strong passion for students learning
Mhm.
and supporting teachers, and then supporting the principals so they can support the teachers. And so um, every day is a new day, and you just never know who's going to need you and who you can help and how you can connect dots for. So I guess my parting words are, um, I love this opportunity. I think Peoria Public Schools is ever changing, ever evolving. They're alive, they're vibrant, they're flexible, and they are going to find a way to meet every child's need. I don't care what it takes. We're going to do that. And I'm just going to do a little shout out to the foundation. I just appreciate the partnership. You're always asking, how can we help? What do you need? And you give of your time and talent, fundraising so that you can give what you need and how can I help? So it's a pleasure and it's an honor. And like I said, I love going to work every day, and I just appreciate the chance to talk about it. So thank you so much for giving me the voice.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wilson, for joining tonight. Great job. And thank you to everyone listening. And we will be back in November with our next Buzz Chats. Don't know who we're having on yet, but I hope you all have a great evening. And Dr. Wilson, you have a good evening as well.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Cindy. All right, it's been a pleasure.
Bye bye.